here, right now, right here, right now, right here, right now.
Greetings, true believers! It is I, your friendly neighborhood boogeyman, Title Boxing Club Pittsburgh, with a little mood lighting, a little something different this week for your focus point. And speaking of something different, we are going to talk about starting combinations off with our rear hand, our dominant hand, the hand that is back. If you're right-handed, this is your right hand. If you're left-handed, it's your left hand. Now again, this is different, just like my mood lighting. This is not something we normally do. Normally, we start combinations off with that lead hand and almost, I would say about 80% of the time, with that jab. The jab is a very common way to start combinations in boxing. We're all used to it. We've done it a million times. But we're going to change it up this week. We're going to start about 0% of the combinations with that lead hand. So no starting with a jab or even a hook or uppercut. Forget it. We're going to be starting with a cross, the cross to the body, the uppercut, the overhand, the rear hook to the body. God help us, we may even start with that bolo punch. Now, of course, this can be risky to do because your opponent has more time to see it coming, but it is also less expected. So you can use it to surprise said opponent. And of course, we can mitigate that risk as well by doing things like fakes. We can certainly fake with that lead hand before we throw the rear hand. Fake low, go over the top is one of my favorites. You can also use footwork, so I quickly can move off angle, throw that rear hand. You can use a little bit head movement to disguise it so they don't see it coming. We'll certainly be doing all of those things. And of course, we're going to try to avoid what I would consider the common mistakes with leading with your rear hand. Common mistakes. So mistake number one is simply not doing it. Because we are so used to starting combinations off with the jab, it can be very hard to not do that. You've developed muscle memory. Muscle memory is usually a good thing, but you don't want to be on autopilot either. You need to have control. You need to ultimately decide what it is you throw. So you're going to want to, if I say, the combination is cross, hook, cross, you might go, oh, the jab's got to come out. But no, don't let that jab come out. Just go right into that cross, hook, cross without any inkling that you're going to throw your lead hand. You've got to be able to develop that control. Also, keeping your mind sharp. Again, we don't want to get into autopilot. A lot of people boxing for a long time. You're getting better. That's great. But be careful of autopilot because it can mess you up. All right, mistake number two, and this is a big one. It's telegraphing. So you can certainly telegraphing any punch is a problem, but when it's your rear hand, it's even worse. Because again, your opponent can see it better and it's further away, so they have more time to deal with it. So for instance, if I throw a cross, I don't want to pull back and throw the cross. I'm really going to let him have it. It's a natural thing to do. You want to try to wind up your punches, but when you're starting with that rear hand, you can't. There can be no wind up. If there is, you've got to disguise it with some head movement so they don't see it coming. But ultimately, if I'm just going to start with my cross, I don't want this hand to move at all. Sometimes we also see the hand goes down before you throw across. That's a common thing. You may do this and have no idea that you do it. I had tells for a long time that I didn't discover till I saw myself on video, so I'll be paying extra attention to that. But anyway, if I'm just going to throw the cross, there's no extra movement. There's no ancillary moving of the hand. It just goes straight from my face to my opponent's face. And then mistake number three is leaning forward. So if I'm starting with a cross, I'm leaning my head forward as I throw it. Now this can be a problem with any rear hand punch you throw. People tend to lean, shift their weight forward. But it happens even more when we start with the rear hand, and I think it's because usually you can use that jab to kind of measure. Jab has many functions, and that's one of them. So if I'm starting a combination with a jab, I touch, and then I see, okay, there's my distance. But I want to make sure you're never leaning forward with your chest when you throw punches. Maybe a little bit on the overhand right you can do, but you're also kind of moving your head off the center line. Instead, what you want to do, first of all, is get a good sense of your distance and also rotate more. So let's say I throw this cross and I'm too far away. It doesn't reach. Well, that's okay. Instead of leaning forward, I don't want that. Instead, I just want to rotate more. Rotate my shoulders more. Turn my hips more. That's going to get me the extra length. And then conversely, there's a similar problem where you're too close. So if I am out of distance, I step into distance, and then I throw my rear hand, it's gonna be too late. I've got to start throwing that rear hand as I step forward, and I don't want to have, if it's a cross, they just throw, you don't want to have a bent elbow T-Rex arm. You want to make sure it's nice and low. Now, of course, we have our bent elbow punches as well. We can throw those a little bit longer range, but you're usually going to get closer when you're throwing things like uppercuts, hooks, body hooks, overhands. But either way, you don't want to necessarily be too close, and if we are stepping into range, you want to make sure you start the punch early. So I'm going to throw my overhand, and I'm out of range. I'm going to start my overhand as I step into range. Same with the cross. I start my cross early, and then I'm stepping in. I'm talking about milliseconds, microseconds early, but it really does make a difference. So that is what we're gonna work on this week. We're gonna make that rear hand better. We're gonna make it even stronger. We're gonna break free of having to start every combination off with a jab. We're gonna mix it up a little, diversify our portfolios. We're gonna get better, and most importantly, we're gonna have fun, because that is just simply how we do it.